Hey everyone, and welcome to Fall 2025 Public Speaking, the Hybrid Edition. What I like to call public speaking on hard mode, because that's really what this is. We'll talk about a lot of things, but I really want to impress on everybody today that because you're not coming into class, it's really up to you to do all the work. I am here to help you succeed. However, I can't do the work for you. And I say that because a lot of students seem to come into this class and think that this is the easiest of the public speaking. And honestly, it's the hardest. We don't really create the same kind of community we do when we are with each other twice a week over 16 weeks, or even once a week over 16 weeks. Instead, we're only meeting 4 times this entire semester. So I really want to impress on you that this is a great class. You can learn so much in it, but you need to be doing the work. So let's talk a little bit about this class overall. To do that, we're going to be going over part of the syllabus. There's going to be other lectures for other part of it. We're going to talk about the course objectives, the required materials, course policy, technology rules, and right there is also my email address. Although the best way to get in touch with me is usually through Canvas because it will pop up on my phone and let me know that you've sent me a message, okay? So let's go over the course objectives. Now, this is what you are going to be learning this semester. You're going to demonstrate an understanding and application of full sentence outline structure, including the components of an introduction, thesis, body, transition, conclusion, and APA-styled in-text citations and reference list. I'm going to point that out really big. We have 5 speeches in this class. 3 of them absolutely require APA references and in-text citations, and if you don't use them, I don't accept the assignment. Build valid argumentation by exploring and ethically applying persuasive theories and the canons of rhetoric, Aristotelian proofs of ethos, pathos, logos, opposing and rebuttal arguments, and truthfulness, accuracy, honesty, integrity, and reason. Really want to hit on that truthfulness, accuracy, honesty, integrity, and reason. Okay. Demonstrate the ability to critically analyze the effectiveness of their own speech giving and the speeches of others. Now, that's a big thing to think about. This class is not just about you giving your speeches, but also about your classmates giving your speech to an audience and you being an audience member. All right. Because you're going to have to apply effective critical listening skills and constructive criticism to peers. Demonstrate professional delivery skills, including eye contact, facial expressions, gestures, vocal delivery, standing delivery, inclusive of posture, stance, and intentional spatial movements. We'll talk about that when we get to delivery. But when we're in the classroom, I expect you to use the full area. And the ability to manage communication apprehension. That's those nerves that we get. Demonstrate extemporaneous presentation skills to include effective verbal communication, professional language, appropriate use of extemporaneous notes, and visual speech elements to include the design and use of professional visual aids. Extemporaneous presentation skills, the best way to describe this is a conversation. Have you ever noticed that some people, when they're lecturing you, they sound, well, really lectury? I often sound very lectury when I'm going over the course objectives, but when I'm talking about it, not so much. Think about, I was on Facebook recently, which I'm not really on right now, and I was going through some of their reels, and they're so bad. They're so obviously not a spontaneous, authentic video. It's obviously been set up, it's obviously staged, and you can tell just by the way they're talking because they're not talking extemporaneous or conversation style. What I want in this classroom is that nice conversational style. Have a conversation with your audience. Don't just lecture at them. We'll talk more about this later. Demonstrate the ability to analyze and understand the audience and tailor the subject matter to the speech's purpose, situation, context, and occasion, while demonstrating rhetorical sensitivity to diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, and accessibility. Demonstrate how to access and apply primary and secondary evidence to include library research and peer-reviewed journal articles from subscription databases, and orally cite that evidence during speeches and within written outlines uses APA style. I'm going to hit on this many, many times. This first week all the way to the last, required APA for this class. Practice and refine the concept presented in the course through a variety of well-prepared, faculty-supervised, faculty-evaluated speeches delivered to a live audience, one-to-many, using effective delivery techniques. Now, these are your student learning objectives. By the end of this class, you should be able to prepare, practice, and present an extemporaneous persuasive speech in a public speaking mode that uses visual aids, minimal use of keyword note cards, and demonstrates engaging eye contact, open gestures, facial expressiveness, purposeful spatial movement, effective standing posture, vocalics, and the ability to manage communication apprehension. Implement Aristotelian rhetorical principles, the canons of rhetoric, rhetorical sensitivity, and persuasive proofs of ethos, pathos, and logos into your speech strategy, and provide a research opposing view and rebuttal to at least one of your speech's arguments. Evaluate and incorporate at least 4 credible and reputable primary, secondary sources for a persuasive speech, with at least one being a peer-reviewed journal article from a subscription database citing this research orally within the presentation and within the outline. We'll go over all this, so don't totally stress this yet. Organize content for a persuasive speech into a full sentence outline, which includes an introduction, guiding thesis, conclusion, transitions, outline points in the body, and a persuasive organizational framework, and at least 4 APA style in-text citations and APA references. You'll have way more than that for my class. A real quick note on this: you cannot pass this course without completing these SLOs. So if you, for some reason, do not do the persuasive speech, you can't pass this class. There's really, honestly, 2 reasons that people don't complete the persuasive speech. The number one is that they don't turn in their outline. If you can't turn in your outline on time, I don't let you give your speech. Your outline, at the very minimum, must be turned in at least 24 hours before your speech. And that's not the due date. The due date is much earlier than that because I need to still grade them. And that's something that I do. I make sure that your outlines are graded before they come to me, or excuse me, before you present your speech, so you're able to get the highest grade on your speech possible. The other thing is when somebody fraudulently uses either AI or plagiarizes their speech. Unfortunately, I've seen this happen quite a bit the last few semesters. And I will tell you right now, if you use AI on your outline, I do not let you resubmit your outline. Your outline will get a 0. And because you don't have an outline, your persuasive speech gets a 0, and your everything attached to that persuasive speech will get a 0, which means you cannot pass this course. So consider this your first of several warnings. I do not allow AI in my class. Okay, you will be signing a document later in Module 0, or perhaps you've already signed it and sent it to me. And before I will grade anything of yours, I am required to get that back from you. Okay. So make sure that you find that form. You can print it out and sign it, or you can even sign it electronically. That is totally okay, but it needs to be a signature, not typing. All right. All right. Now that we've talked about that, required material, there's an open source textbook, which means you all don't pay for it. It's actually embedded in the modules with the full book at the end, which I do suggest that you download, because you will be giving speeches throughout your life, and it will be nice to have that as a backup. You're going to need a USB-A or USB-B to your computer thumb drive, because in the classroom, we do have recording ability. We're going to record your speech and we're going to put it on that thumb drive, and you got to make sure you can put it into your computer. Okay. You need to have reliable internet. Obviously, it would be very difficult to do this class without internet. And note cards. Note cards are required for 3 of the speeches, okay? Not the first one and not the last one, but for 3 of them. There are some things that you're going to be recording online as well. There's going to be the first speech and the last speech will be online with you, yourself, and you. You will also have a couple of different activities, including poetry readings and poetry performances, that you're going to have to do online. One of them is going to be due this week, and it's going to be called the meet and greet, and the other one is the item speech, okay? So go ahead and watch those lectures to make sure that you know what's expected. So you're going to need to be at least able to record the video and the audio. You can do this on a laptop, smartphone, Zoom recording. That's actually how I'm doing this. And you could upload it to YouTube, Screencast, Google Drive. I kind of personally prefer YouTube or Google Drive. Screencast is probably a little bit old at this point. I should take that out because that way I control my video. If you upload it directly to Canvas, that video will always be on Canvas. It does get stored kind of forever. But a YouTube video and you post in a link, that's yours. So that's my personal opinion on that. But you do you, whatever's easier. I always like to point out that there's several programs on the campus that can help you succeed in college. I always like to say we don't all come from the same place. We don't all our high schools were different, right? And so there's a lot of ways that here on campus, we're focused on your success. For example, if you have a disability, DESP may be able to help you succeed in college. DESP is Disabilities Educational Student Program. It has specialized counseling, academic accommodations, learning disability service, and computer lab and alternate media. For example, if you wear glasses, maybe you need a book that's printed larger. Well, guess what? They can help you. Of course, in this class, you can just make it larger on your computer. It's one of the reasons I like um, online books. There's reasons I dislike it too, but we don't need to talk about that. There are also stuff for single parents. There's health and mental health services. You all are paying for this when you apply to school, or the state is paying for you. Either way, you have the opportunity to do things like have. I believe it's 2 different counseling sessions. If you need to talk to somebody, health services, heck, half the time I come here from my flu shot. It's easy, it's 1, 2, and I'm out the door. If you're a veteran, they have veteran services here that can give you a place kind of to call home. Emergency fund assistance, food pantry. How can you be expected to learn if you are not, well, full? If you have a rumbling stomach, that'd be really difficult. So we do have support for students on campus, support for foster youth. This is a huge thing that West Valley is doing, and I'm so proud of it because foster youth often, when they age out of the system, it's like, now what? To put this another way, if you are 18 or 19 and at West Valley and you didn't have a home to live in and you didn't have parents or siblings, where might you be? That's pretty scary for me. And then there's all sorts of student groups that are there for you, including, I believe, they're trying to start a UN program this semester. So that'd be pretty exciting. So let's go a little bit over some of the stuff, the course policies from class. We're going to talk about assignments, late work policies, grade challenge policy, course material warnings, code of conduct, and tech rules. All right. And like I mentioned, there's going to be 5 speeches, 3 outlines. So of those 3 outlines, those are the ones that I'm going to want APA. 3 self reflections, quizzes. There's going to be 8 of them, and there's going to be 3 APA quizzes. Now, the speeches, 5 original speeches. I'm going to point that big where original, right? Your words. Item, which is going to be due this week. Think of it as show and tell. Don't overthink this one. No outline, okay? Person of interest, informative and persuasive. And then the final is going to be a tribute speech. The outline is for the person of interest, the informative and the persuasive. Self-evaluation is going to be those same 3. There's going to be 8 quizzes altogether worth 225 points, okay? You add that to the APA quizzes and it's 60 points. The quizzes themselves, there's about 10 questions in each quiz, and you have about 30 minutes to complete it, okay? I'll tell you right now, that is going to be a mix of the book, of my lectures, and of the speeches. So you really need to make sure that you are keeping up on the work. Otherwise, your grades will show in the quizzes. The APA quizzes, why is this a little bit different? It's because you can complete this multiple times for maximum credit, okay? You need to get 100% on all 3 quizzes, or 3 of them, or you get 0. So one is worth 15, one is worth 20, and one is worth 25 off the top of my head. So you need to get 100% on all those 3 quizzes to get any of the points for any of the quizzes. All right. But I am here to help you. And I'll give you a little hint. All the answers are in the directions. Okay. Now, I do have a lot of different extra credit all over this class. And in fact, I had somebody who lost speech. It was just one of those things that happened. Wasn't able to show up on the speech. Was still able to get an A in this class. Okay. I have a lot of extra credit, but if you're not going to do it, I can't help you out with that, right? So there's lots of chances for extra credit. Pay attention to those. There's also going to be 50 points of participation and attendance. We only have 4 days of attendance, but I'll tell you right now, if you're showing up late on those days, you're going to lose all of those points, and I will take more than those 50 points if you're being disrespectful to your audience. Something I really like to point out is that West Valley is having a really tough time with what they're calling ghost students. So what this is, as far as I can understand from the ghost students' point of view, is that they are actually stealing students' identity. They are going to FAFSA and getting student loans. They're signing on for these online classes, waiting for the student loans to be sent for them, and then they're dropping out of classes. Now, there's a lot of problems with this. The biggest one is that there is now a student who has $7,000 in student loans that they never took out, but now they're responsible for. Number two is that if you are trying to get into classes and you are not getting into classes because there's too many students, and then 3 weeks in, there's only 7 students in the class. This is why. I had this happen last semester and I did not understand what was going on. I had a full roster and a bunch of people on the wait list that in hindsight, I probably should have added, but I didn't realize that this was going on, unfortunately. So this is why it's going to be absolutely a requirement for you to complete the meet and greet by Wednesday. I believe that's the due date. It might be Tuesday. I need you to complete that meet and greet. It's just a quick discussion where you introduce yourself to the audience, okay? It needs to be on camera. You need to be on sound. And the reason I require this is because most of the time, these ghost students don't want to do that. And sometimes it's because they are not located here in the States is the best way for me to put that. So I need you to complete that. If you don't complete that, I will be dropping you to make room for students who want to add. Okay. Really, okay. These ghost students, all they do is they copy stuff out of AI and they post it on there. And I figured out the one way that I can really make sure that these people are real is to get you on camera early. So I really need you to get that done this week. All right. For anybody even asks. All right. Assignments. Altogether, there's 1,000 points in this class. 900 points to 1,000 points is an A. If you want an A, that's what you're shooting for. Okay. Lose fewer than 100 points. Like I said, I have all that extra credit. B, 800 to 899. C, 700 to 799. Anything less than 700, you will need to retake this class to have it be transferable. Okay. Most of the time, the way that people are failing this class right now is that they are not doing the work. I'll be honest with you, they're not doing the work, or they're letting AI do the work. And I'll tell you right now, stay away from AI. I've noticed that students are now relying on AI to do their research, but it's not reliable. Okay. AI will just make stuff up. And if it's made up, you're going to fail the assignment. Okay. Even if you wrote every other part of your outline, doesn't matter. Right. I had to fail two students last semester for doing that exact same thing. So I really want you to understand that AI is never appropriate in this class. All right. Late work. Guess what? Things happen. Sometimes life gets in the way. So, what are my policies when you are late? Well, late assignments, not including quizzes, you'll lose 5 points every day that it's late. And I'll only accept an assignment to have credit. Now, that's not true for outlines. I will accept it all the way to 24 hours before the speech. But for example, a self-evaluation is worth 20 points. So if you're late one day, max you can get is 15 points. If you're late 2 days, max you can get is 10 points. If you're late 3 days, now it's less than half credit. I will no longer take it. Outlines, no speech will occur without a written outline submitted to Canvas at least 24 hours in advance of the speech. So if it's Tuesday and it's Monday, or if our speeches are Tuesday and it's Monday at 10 p.m. and you haven't turned your outline in, I'm not going to take it. All right. If it's Sunday at 10 p.m., you may not get any points for that outline, but I'll let you give your speech, which is worth more points. So it's important to do that. Okay. Quizzes. I don't have makeup quizzes. They're always due on Friday. Basically, not all of them, but a lot of them are due um, every 3 weeks. So I have basically, I think, 6 quizzes, and every 3 weeks they're due. Okay. And they're going to be a culmination of reading, in-class lectures, and your other students' speeches. Okay. So make sure you're paying attention to that. There are a couple other ones. There's a syllabus quiz. There's also a couple worksheets. And you'll notice if you read the directions, they have a little bit more flexibility on that due date. Okay. But you've got to pay attention to the written word as well as the Canvas. All right. Late speeches, honestly, there's really not time in this class, because if you couldn't make it on September 23rd to give your person of interest speech, the next time we're meeting is October 21st. Okay. So I can't really just be pushing it forward a month like that. If it's an exceptionally legitimate excuse, for example, you're in the hospital, your family member is in the hospital, you have, uh, you're in jail. That might be a legitimate excuse. Um, I will probably allow you to present your speech. However, it will be in one of my other classes. You will have to come in and give a speech in front of a class that is not yours. And I don't think you're going to want to do that. Okay. Without a legitimate excuse, there's no makeup speeches. And if you do not have your outline in time, there's no speech. If there's no references on your outline, that's also no speech. So basically, if you let 923 roll, you didn't turn in your outline, and you're like, oh, I was in jail, I'm like, that's not a good enough excuse because you didn't have your outline in. Okay. Real quick, I did forget to mention this. As far as my late work policy goes, I'm actually pretty flexible. Okay. If something's going on in your life, heck, you are out with your friends, it's 11:50 on a Friday night, and you're like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot about my quiz, and you write me an email in Canvas, and you download it, and you send it out at 11:51 p.m., and I'm not going to get it till Saturday, but I'm probably going to give you an extension. We can be flexible. The only thing I really can't be flexible in is that 24 hours before your speech is your outline due, because I need to grade it, and that speech itself, because we only have 4 days that we're meeting. Okay. So if you need help, please reach out. I'm so here to help you succeed. Okay. But I can't do it if you don't talk to me. All right. All right, great challenge. I'm going to tell you a little secret. Sometimes I mess up. Sometimes somebody's walking in the door late and you're up there giving your speech and I miss your orally cited source. So what can you do? Now you've lost points because somebody else walked in late because my mind wandered a little bit. It even happens to professors, right? Well, this is what you're going to do. Just wait 24 hours after your grade is returned, okay? Because sometimes we do get a little, hot and bothered, don't we? Bring it to my attention within 7 days. The reason I do that is because I do not want a bunch of emails the week before class ends saying, oh, you graded this wrong. That's why I deserve an A. I'm going to be like, well, I have too much work to do at the end of the semester. You were supposed to bring this up within 7 days. Okay. Type it out and submit it. You can just email it to me. It's fine. Just tell me why you think you deserve the additional points. All of my quizzes are new this year, so I might have messed up. Somebody caught me last year and I had accidentally put two of the same answer, and they were both correct, into the quiz, but only one was marked as correct. And she happened to choose the wrong one. So I went back and I gave her the points, right? At the end of the day, your grade is your responsibility. So if you see something wrong, approach me with respect, right? If you're not certain, maybe talk to one of your peers, maybe talk to another professor. Write something out detailing exactly why you deserve the additional points, and you may get them back. You also may not. I might say, oh, well, if you look at this point, that's not really how that answer should be given. Okay. But I say again, your grade is your responsibility, and I'm here to support you. This is an R-rated class. I don't really like silencing or censoring my students' speeches. I think that college is a place where we need to have these difficult conversations. The material we may be viewing, reading, listening to, and discussing may contain adult language, sexual situations, violence, or material that is deemed offensive by some audiences. Your continued enrollment in this course indicates that you're aware of this material and have chosen to stay in this class. In other words, you may not like talking about the gender pay gap or about sex workers or about transgender rights. But in this class, this is the place that we need to have those conversations. But we need to do it in a way that is still creating a safe environment, right? Because the classroom should be a safe place for all. Language that and behavior that marginalizes people on the basis of gender, sexuality, race, creed, or any other aspects of identity will not be tolerated. We need to be able to approach controversial issues in a professional and respectful manner. But in addition to normal judicial mechanisms, if that language goes outside of the bounds, the use of marginalizing language in this class will impact your grade. If you have any questions about this, and I never have had a student who is ignorant on this particular thing, but refer to West Valley campus and district policies for clarification regarding classroom behavior and safety. But if at any point in time the classroom has become less safe for you, please let me know. I don't know everything. I am constantly still learning about how to be a better leader. And that's really what I believe that teachers are, that professors are. Um, and so please let me know, even if it means, a email um, that's not from a traditional account that can be traced back to you. I would totally understand that. As long as it is done in a respectful way, I will always come back at it respectfully. All right. I'm ready to adjust as needed to make my classroom a better place. And sometimes the only way I can do that is with your help. All right, technology rules. All right, so no laptops during speech days, and you got to be exceptionally attentive. Okay, the facts of the matter is that I have absolutely had a student last semester who walked around with their laptop thinking that that was an appropriate way to have notes. That is not an appropriate way to have notes. There's really no reason for you to have laptops during speech days, except that it's already in your backpack. Okay. You need to perform attentiveness. It does not mean that you're always going to be attentive. Like I said, even my mind wanders, but we can perform it. We can look it, because the last thing we want to see as we're a public speaker is a bunch of faces that are obviously not paying attention or texting. Okay. Speaking of that, anybody assumed of texting, sleeping, talking during another student's speech will receive a 15% deduction for your speech. This includes writing your note cards during somebody else's speech. All right. You need to be attentive. Wearing headphones or earbuds in class without accommodation. I will mark you as absent or 15% off your speech. All right. Um, so make sure that you're paying attention to the speaker. Okay. It's such a high stress activity. And the best way that we can help each other to be the best public speakers is by being a great audience. Uh, Emails, make sure they're professionally written. I always found it as a little bit difficult when I'm writing somebody who's got power over me. But so I'm just going to tell you right now, keep it simple. Subject line, question about the persuasive topic. So, always put a salutation in there. Short to the point message. Don't use emojis. Don't use all capital letters because I think you're yelling at me and I don't know what I did. Be sure that you include who you are and how I know you. One semester, I had 5 classes and 5 different Oscars, and I'd get this email saying, "Hey, it's Oscar," and I'm like, "I have no idea who you are. Help me out here, okay?" Um, Getting a little bit into the procedure for speeches. As I said, we're only meeting 4 times. Last semester, one of my students from my class that was set up exactly like this said, "Where are we supposed to meet? I'm very confused." And I'm like, "We're only supposed to meet 4 times." So we meet 9:23, 10:21, 11:25, and 12:09. Okay. We meet in classroom LASS 33, 205 to 5:15 on those dates. You're going to present your speech to the class. You're going to need to have note cards. You're going to need to be dressed appropriately. You're going to need to write peer reviews for selected speakers and turn those in. You'll see all of this in the modules as you go through it. There are no do-overs. Okay, it is what it is. Outlines must be submitted at least 24 hours before your speech, or otherwise you're not going to be given that opportunity to give your speech. So Again, folks, welcome to public speaking. Like I said, on hard mode. We talked about assignments, late work policy, grade challenge policy, course material warnings, code of conduct, and technology rules. Please reach out with questions and know that I will make myself as available as I need to make you successful. Okay. I've set up office hours on Friday. If you check out the main page, scroll to the bottom, you'll see the student hours there. But I also will have student hours on campus, and I'm going to be here for you. Let me know if those times don't work for you. We can set up an appointment. Okay. I'm so excited to meet you in your meet and greet due this week. Don't forget, don't be a ghost student. And hit me up if you have any questions or need any clarification. I really am here for you. I'll see you soon.